It's great to be part of this technical conference, and I hear a lot of very good messages from around Asia. We talk about policies that's driven for the Southeast Asia region that's presented by Dr. Iskandar. We also hear about government initiatives in different countries such as Philippines and Nepal. We also hear about some good research that's taking place in the different areas of agriculture, education, medical and manufacturing. And what's important is the push towards an integrated technology convergence to support robotics, intelligent robotics in particular, especially when we start to put AI and IoT into robotics to make it a lot more efficient. So this is really exciting because I think we are certainly seeing a lot of strong activities in robotics for the Asian region, and I'm very happy to see my colleagues talk about their respective progress. Very happy to be part of the French Federation of Robotics, because I think there's tremendous opportunity to see how we can have what Bikesh says in terms of cross-border collaboration. I want to zoom in to look at healthcare in particular, and really to explore the impact of robotics on the elderly, because I think this is definitely a very important discussion because of the fact that the world is aging, and we definitely need to see how technology can play a part in doing so. Let me move to this one slide that talks about the evolution of AI applications. We are certainly seeing how AI becomes a very important, more effectively a interdisciplinary study where we combine all the different pieces of sciences together to support the building up of a smart robotic environment. And I guess one of the things that we all love to discuss is, the comparison between what's a humanoid and what's really a robot. And of course, the humanoid is really the feature of a robot with a human outfit. And I got a chance to go into a conversation with Dr. David Hansen of Hansen Robotics, where we debated around some of the emotion connections between people and machine, and what's important on going beyond AI, going beyond the fact that humanoids will be part of our life in time to come. I think what's important is that we want to see robots as a human representable appearance, right? It doesn't have to be a human-like form with textured skins, but it really has to be somebody we can associate with in one form or another. And I guess I'd like to also draw reference to Madeleine Michel, Professor Madeleine Michel, who talk a bit about the fact that, AI is very interesting in how it kind of dovetails with human performance. And she mentioned 4 myths or fallacies which are very important to us as we start to explore how robotics can be applied in working together humans, and particularly for the elderly population. One is the fact that today's AI and robotic application are very narrow in intelligence versus the fact that we need it to be like a human, where it's got general intelligence. And in some of the earlier presentation, this was also communicated that we need to see robots taking on a more general intelligent perspective. Secondly, there are many things that humans do that's easy for us, but not necessarily easy for the machines. And more importantly, right, what's complex, but with an algorithm can be done easily by the robots, by AI, but not necessarily by the human. The third fallacy is really the part about wishful mnemonics. We love to come up with general terms, right? Terms that looks great, bombastic, but really does not carry into true application. I like the thinking that we need to move from buzzwords to bottom line, right? Buzzwords that we generate or build up over time to say that we've done something different with AI or robotics, to, right, true impact on the bottom line of a commercial business. Buzzword to bottom line is really key. And thirdly, we are just got to keep in mind that intelligence is all in the brain, and that's something which we need to manage. The question is, how do we build that kind of technology? I believe foremost, we must put people first. People first, right? We have to look at how robotics can take care of the human, can associate with the human, can reference the human And technology application and advances should be second. Eventually, what we need to do is AI should be built on the basis of a ethical foundation that supports the human being. And to overcome that, I'd like to draw a comment by Max Planck, and I have a tremendous interest in quantum physics, quantum computing, and he said this, right? When we change the way we look at things, the things that we look at change, and that's a very valid point. Sometimes we're so biased. Sometimes we're so kind of influenced by past performance and past behavior and past experience that we forget to look at things very differently. And this is a time where we have to look at robotics from a very different angle. We have to look at robotics and how it can support us in a very different way. And in particular, we must, and I repeat, we must look at how robotics can support the human being in many different ways. I will draw the attention to a couple of applications when we start to look at humanoid robots for the elderly. I think we want to look at how innovation and creativity can be built into robots to support the elderly, and they need very much our help. One is, of course, to give them the degree of independence to do what they want to do. Two is to give them a richer and probably well-lived environment in how they socialize and how they carry on the efficient years of their later lives. It has also to create social value, right? Robots creating social value. One thinks, what does that mean? But truly, it can be done. Also, it has to look at the quality of life that we want to support for the elderly, and more importantly, how can the elderly accept and adopt these robots into their daily lives? And those are the key things that we looked at. Over here in Singapore, we did a couple of experiments. We took robots from different parts of the world. Mainly, a lot of it comes from Korea and Japan, to explore the use of such robots and its impact on the elderly. And I'll show you some examples in the following discussion, what we have done here. Some of you may have seen this machine, right? This is called Lovebot, Love Robot, to be kind of complete with the mnemonics, right? So this little guy can really roll on the floor, roll on the table. It's got the bottom sensors as well, so it don't fall off the cliff. It's a love, right, for the young ones as well as the elderly. It has been used in different pilots here for nursing homes, as well as families that wants to explore the potential use of this technology. There are many other technologies that I guess we would have seen from different parts of the world. The bigger machines, the top left, where we show the machine keeping the elderly companion, little dogs that can talk and respond to the elderly or at a table level, robots like Pepper that can actually support with some monitoring application communication. The top right, we one example where this is an elderly that's very much bedridden, and the robot sits by the side to keep companion and have discussion to help with drug administration and so on and so forth. So these are various examples that have been explored in our part of the world. Mostly in Japan, we are starting to move to this application that this association to Singapore. Lovebot is definitely one of the very well-liked product. It can make facial recognitions. The eyeball can roll. It makes noise. It also responds to people talking. It can sing. It can make noise and hum tunes and work together with the elderly, keeping the elderly very warm and comfortable. So the social value comes in very strong here. The social value comes in very strong, and we find that elderly that play with Lovebot will get a chance. In fact, they get a great chance to kind of feel very comfortable and associated with this machine as they kind of communicate and play with them. The second robot I want to talk about is Hyundai. Hyundai is from Korea, and this has taken the industry by storm this year in particular. This is a robot that looks like a doll that you can carry around with you and talk to the doll. It responds accordingly. I met the founder before the pandemic, and over the period, they have actually progressed very far. It became one of key topic of discussion earlier in March. This product is now coming to Singapore for trial with a number of nursing homes to see how it can be effective. In Korea, it has been a strong hit. I've seen it in action, very positive, and it gives lively environment to the elderly, and makes them less lonely, right? So to kind of dive deep into that, the key thing is happy and healthy. I think those are the keywords that the founders of this team want to propose to the aging population. How can we actually bring that joy back to the elderly who, most of whom are staying alone, and more importantly, may not be very familiar with technology, so it must be a very warm product they can work with very closely and talk to them. This is where it works in the community, and you see the young playing with it, you see the elderly playing with. So one of the key messages that we also want to communicate across is how do we use robots for intergenerational relationship, connecting the young ones to the young ones. Now that's a very important and powerful language because the thing about one of the biggest challenge that creates the generation gap is technology, right? The young ones play with a smartphone; they're very good with their fingers swiping on the phone, whereas the old generation played with board games and they were kind of very familiar with moving pieces around, but not really swiping and pressing buttons on the screen, right? So how do we do that? And I think robotics can play a part. So the next item I'm going to share with you is how we actually introduce a robot from Korea. This robot is called Albert. And we let the elderly play with, we let the young ones play with, and then eventually put the two together and created a platform for both the elderly and the young to communicate and play the same game on the table, right? So the elderly will play with cards to move the robot around, to plan the path of movement for the robot, where the young ones could actually activate the robot from the smartphone through Bluetooth. And that facilitate the communication together. And of course, you can also dress the robot up, right? The little guy can be dressed up in different forms, and it makes it fun, right? So it's not just playing the robot, but the elderly could even create dressing for the little guy, for the little robot, and the young ones could dress them up. So you find that they kind of have activities working together. So bringing generations together to work together in that space. Um, what we'll definitely see, oops, maybe I should go back to the previous slide. Apologize for this. Because I have a little video that I wanted to show. Let me play it here now to show you what the elderly could do with this robotic technology. It's quite interesting because we think elderly may not be familiar with robotic technology. So this is a nursing home that we introduced the technology with. And you see here, the elderly, these are people who are very 80 years old, and they could provide instructions to the robot through a play card and get the robot to actually make movements. So this is where the nursing healthcare worker is actually helping the elderly to do some planning on how the robots can move from one point to another, right? So you see now the elderly is trying to explain the logic, the algorithm that he's going to put together, simple algorithms to activate the robot, right? See now here she activates the robot, right? And the robot will perform the action according to what the LD want to do. This is a foot journey they created, and you see the fun and joy that they laugh together, right? And they start to fall in love with this machine because they're able to see, right, and associate the fact that, hey, if my granddaughter, my grandson can play this machine, I can do. If the grandson can create coding programs, I can also break down my intention, my objective into a number of basic steps and perform this task together, right? This was a great hit. We did this before the pandemic, and during the pandemic, we couldn't do much, but this paper was eventually presented back in the Aging Population Conference in Japan, right? You see this lady was so energetic about trying to explain how she was able to do that. And more importantly, what happened was she was then able to use that platform to spend more time with the young ones, to the grandchildren, and talk further about it. Right? Let me now move on to my next slide. I think technology is moving very fast, right? Clearly, the time taken to adopt new technology is definitely happening. So we need to figure out how we can enhance upon the experience, use it to augment our ability to learn, to enable excellence, and more importantly, to promote inclusion, right, for leaders and subordinates, for elderly and the younger ones. And that is what we can do to actually use robotics for, and its impact on the elderly would be great. I believe we shouldn't wait too long, right? We shouldn't spend too much time just planning and worrying whether it works or don't work. we have to get started. We have to move forward with trying out different technology, different applications, different tools, different products that's available, so that we bring not just the young ones into their play and understand the technology and develop them into the future generation. We also need to create a space for the elderly. Um, I think the future is really about return on intelligence, not so much return in investment, but what can we do to leverage on intelligence that can support us, that can help us to live a better life, higher quality. Um, my last slide really looks at not just um, digital or robotic literacy. But literacy talks about competency and knowledge. I think we need to move ourselves from a space of knowing what things are, knowing what robotics are, to how we can express ourselves and articulate with an understanding of the desired effect, right? And that's what I call fluency. It's just like language. We can learn grammar, we can learn sentence structure, but we need to take that language capability and express our thoughts in a clear way that the person listening can understand. So robotics should be a tool that can help us move from literacy into fluency. I hope we can continue to leverage technology, particularly AI, to achieve maximum impact. And one of the way to do so is really collaboration and connectivity. And cross-border sharing of knowledge is key. I also believe that we can move from using AI as a tool to AI as a partner. And that's the only way we can progress to help us move further. So with that, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate this discussion. I think it was great to have all the different countries in Asia share some of the work that's done. And I'm happy to take any questions now.